Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect, episode 399. We are recording and broadcasting live on Monday, March 28th. Yeah, March 28th, 2022. I'm David Lott, by the way. Joining me as always is Bobby Jackson. How's it going, Bobby?
Oh, it's good. Got a lot to talk about today.
We do. Considering we aren't going to get to the review we were planning on getting, you know what? That's all right because there's plenty to talk about. Also with us, Michelle Hillard. How's it going, Michelle?
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Unfortunately, Yasha could not make it tonight. But yeah, plenty to talk about for sure.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even there to watch all of the Oscars.
Yeah. You made it home just in time for the show.
Yeah, the
really?
show within a show. I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I did.
So he got to see it live.
I joked on our private chat that I didn't make it back, but yeah, no, I made it back when I don't even remember what the award was. I mean, I feel terrible. I'm blanking on his name. Actor from Shang-Chi was presenting an award.
Simu Liu?
Simu Liu, thank you.
Okay.
Whatever award that was is when I walked in the door.
So. You know, I didn't even actually get a chance to see it.
Oh, you didn't watch it at all?
Oh.
No, I didn't get the chance to see it at all. Unfortunately, I recorded it. I was running late from where I was leaving from having dinner. And by the time I got back, everything was all based around the incident. Yeah. And so I was just looking at all that. I didn't even have a chance to watch the actual show. So I still have that to watch. And I'm curious from at least one person that I know saw it to understand exactly how all these things went as far as when they removed certain categories but placed them back in during the telecast. How did the host do? So I'm looking forward to getting into all that because it's going to be a little bit revelatory for me.
Yeah. I mean, and I will say now, like actually just prepping for the show just before we started, I've now seen the beginning up until I'm probably fairly close to when I walked in.
You're close to when you got in. So, there's probably about 20 minutes that you're gapping on.
So now I've basically seen the whole show.
Okay.
Basically.
That's the glory of Hulu and not having commercials and me going, we can fast forward this part. Oh, we can fast forward this part. Oh, we don't need to watch that. He's been able to kind of catch up.
Okay. Yeah. And I did not intend on staying up for the rest of it until the incident happened. And then it was like, well, like I have to see the rest of this. And I don't know. I kind of, my mind is already all over the place. But I think it would be crazy for us not to start with what we are talking about, and that is the incident that happened at the Oscars last night.
The slap heard around the world.
Yeah, between Will Smith and Chris Rock. I don't even think we need to explain it. If you're watching,
not at this point.
Sure, you know about it.
It's pretty much everywhere. Well,
go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say we can do a quick rundown.
Go for it.
I mean, basically, so Chris Rock was coming out on stage to present Best Documentary. And he was making some jokes. And there's actually one joke I kind of took offense with. And then he made a bad joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and her hair. She just shaved her head, and he was making a reference to like a joke that she was shooting G.I. Jane 2.
I think he said like, I look forward to seeing G.I. Jane 2.
Yes. Yeah. And of course she, took offense to it. And had this big eye roll. And I guess Will Smith saw that she was visibly upset by it. And he got on stage and he slapped Chris Rock in the face. You can see it, you heard it, and then he walks back, sits down, and then he verbally shouts, leave my wife's name out your effing mouth. And he says it twice. And that was the incident. And it was pretty startling as a viewer, because there's a small part because Chris was kind of giggling as Will was approaching him, because I think even Chris didn't really know just what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was awkward because there's a small part of it. It's like, is this a weird scripted moment? Or, is this really happening? And it was definitely real. It took a minute or two to kind of process it. It was like, no, this is serious. That was a real slap. He didn't throw his punch or anything. Like, there was definitely made contact. It was an interesting, unsettling moment on numerous levels, and I can go on about this for a long time, so I won't just hog this.
To have that perspective, since Bobby, you didn't see it live, like watching it here in the US live anyway, that happens. And I agree, like right as it happened, I was like, is this like a weird bit? Like, though it just immediately didn't feel right. But then like when ABC immediately went into censorship mode and just killed the audio, they killed the audio for a while, and you're watching a shot of Will Smith like looking like he's yelling at Chris Rock, but you can't hear any of it.
You can kind of make out what he's saying.
You can kind of make out what he's saying,
his lips,
but you can't hear any of it.
Yeah.
So it was that as soon as the long drawn out censorship was happening, it was becoming clear, I think, pretty quickly that, hey, this seems legit. Like, what the hell is happening right now? And it didn't take long for the uncensored version to make it on the internet, since I guess in the UK and Australia, I don't know where else, it was not censored.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, clips of all the audio on Twitter and Instagram and such pretty fast. So
you can see the whole thing play out. You can actually hear what Chris says after the slap, which is, he basically just is like, it was a joke. I was telling a joke.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
It was a G.I. Jane joke. And that's really kind of all he said to it. And then Will Smith, yelled at him and repeated the same thing twice. And then I'll be honest, I was kind of surprised and impressed with Chris Rock. He soldiered on and continued forward, and kind of, it took him a second, but he regained himself and continued on with trying to present the nominees. Luckily, the nominations it's a pre-recorded rundown of the documentaries, of the films, and who's the director and whatnot. So he did kind of go, just cut to the nominations.
Yeah, it was right at that point he started to seem a little
shaken,
off. Like,
understandably so.
It's like he handled it super well, and he handled it well the whole time. You're absolutely right, but it's like, I think the shock of it, like in the first few moments, he seemed almost normal, and then it's like he's about that point that you're describing, Michelle, he seemed like, okay, now like it started to bother him more and more, I guess.
Like, he needed a moment at that point. He was like, just go, show the nominees.
He was shook, and it's hard, I think, sometimes to leave really good comedians like Chris Rock basically speechless. Even with a script in front of him, he literally was, and he was doing he was trying. He really was. I mean, and David said it really well. He's like, honestly, he could have just walked off the stage at that moment, and I wouldn't blame him. And I'm like, I wouldn't either. He easily could have been like, nah, peace out.
Like, I don't need this.
I don't need this. I'm going to go. I'm going to go now. And he could have easily just walked off stage and just left the situation. And he didn't. He kind of stuck it out. So I have to give him props for that. I mean, there's a lot to unwrap with this. Jada Pinkett Smith she's been vocal, I guess, in last year about her battle with alopecia, which it can happen with anybody, but it's definitely really predominant in the African American community, especially in females. And it can be quite painful for their skin, but they wind up losing hair along with it. And she's made the choice to go ahead and just shave her hair off, which, one, she looks great with her head shaved. And 2, like, yeah, why not? Screw it. Like, who cares? So it's a lot to unwrap because, it's one thing. Some people are like, oh, well, maybe Chris didn't know that was happening. And it's kind of like, yeah, I know. But I'll be honest. Here's my viewpoint is that it was a stupid joke. It wasn't even a good joke. It was just a dumb joke. And I don't, in my opinion, think that should result in being physically accosted by a person in that response. Especially because it just, and we'll get into this here in a little bit too, but honestly, like it was a really awkward moment, and it was honestly felt very saturated in like toxic masculinity, and which got worse as the evening went on. And it was weird. It was unsettling for so many reasons, and I have to say, I don't understand the decision by the Academy to not have people basically go up to Will Smith and say, hey, we need to pull you aside now. And I'm not saying that he needed to be gone from the entire Oscars for the rest of the night. I don't think that's not within my own opinion, I think. But I think he should have at least been pulled off to the side and been like, we have to talk about this. I think that they handled it. I don't think they handled it very well. I think to try to soldier on with the evening without having somebody come out and say something about it and basically pretend like nothing really happened, when easily someone, in the production level of the Oscars could have come out and said, we apologize for what just occurred and we don't condone it. And we are speaking with Mr. Smith and we are working through the situation. I basically think they just try to brush it off and just move on with the night. Like nothing happened, which obviously it did. And it unsettled everyone in that room. And it completely shifted the mood in the whole Oscars. And I think they just allowed it because Will Smith was nominated for Best Actor, which he ended up winning. So yeah, I have a lot of feelings about this whole situation, honestly.
Yeah, it's hard not to. Like
it's unsettling.
Yeah, I mean it destroyed the rest of the night.
Yeah,
in terms of the for the show, and I feel for every other, not only the winners and nominees after that, but even the ones before it. Like, the ones before it at least had a great moment where that hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But I feel like now the Oscar ceremony that they've been a part of and they won an Oscar at has just been like totally tainted by this subject. Yeah, I mean, watching it, immediately my reaction and still my reaction to it, even after digesting it for now like a full day, is I can't believe it happened. And any respect I had for Will Smith is, I have to say, for me, is gone. Like it was just so uncalled for. Like you said, the toxic masculinity of it was just, it's just gross and appalling. And yeah, it's a bad joke. And I mean, I get that situation, is the joke in bad taste? Absolutely. But that's no excuse for walking on a stage and assaulting someone, live TV or not, like,
right.
It's just uncalled for. And then, yeah, for then, not that I wish that situation on any producer in that situation, like having to, decide on the fly what to do. But at the same time, you're a producer of a live broadcast like the Oscars. Like, you should know how to handle anything. And no, I don't think it was handled well. The fact that he was still allowed to accept an Oscar for Best Actor and talk as long as he wanted to, which I get. Of course, they're never going to cut him off in that situation just because everyone wants to know what he's going to say. But still, it wasn't right in my opinion. I will say, I mean, it's probably important that we point out that, I mean, just before, or I don't know how much before our live stream tonight, he issued an apology.
Well, can I interrupt real quick? Sorry. So when he gave his acceptance speech, he apologized to the Academy for his behavior, and he did not apologize, and his fellow nominees, and he did not apologize to Chris Rock at the time of the acceptance speech.
No, But he has since, at least on social media, issued an apology. I don't know if we've heard any confirmation that he's actually spoken directly with Chris Rock. I know we've heard the stuff that what's his
Puff
name?
Daddy.
Has said about it.
They're bros. It's all good.
Everything's fine. But yeah, he issued this apology, and I'll read it if anyone's just listening. Violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are a part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I am embarrassed, and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. I would also like to apologize to the Academy, the producers of the show, all the attendees, and everyone watching around the world. I would like to apologize to the Williams family and my King Richard family. I deeply regret that my behavior has stained what has been an otherwise gorgeous journey for all of us. I am a work in progress. Sincerely, Will. Go ahead, Michelle. You seem like you want to say something.
Yeah.
I will say that definitely comes off better than the acceptance speech last night. I mean, and that is after spending a day with probably his main publicist and a large corporation trying to help him format his correct wording. His acceptance speech last night was rolling a different tone, even though he apologized. He apologized to the Academy and the fellow nominees, but it came off very, I hate saying again, just more toxic masculinity of being a protector. And he tried to loop that in with, with Richard Williams and how he was with his family. It just, the whole acceptance speech was not kosher with me, and it just felt like he was trying to explain himself and backstep. It was bad, and there's really just not a lot else. All I can say is you can watch it for yourself. Everything's on Hulu right now. You can watch the whole Oscars. You can literally just fast forward and watch that stuff. I mean, it's a hot mess.
And then, talking about his acceptance speech, the thing that I was really disappointed to witness was just how he was received by everyone in the room.
I wholeheartedly agree.
I shouldn't say everyone. I don't know how many people in the room maybe were like, wait, why are we applauding this guy? But
I'd say it was a good split.
It seemed like a pretty well-received speech. And I mean, it's my understanding he got a standing ovation. I don't remember if we saw that in a shot on the live broadcast or not. But I was wondering how he was going to be received. And then to hear like the pretty loud applause and cheers for him, I was watching going, I kind of can't believe this is happening. I really can't believe this is happening.
I think the better reaction would have been a room that was just crickets.
Yeah.
I think for everyone to have applauded him and to cheered for that moment, I don't know if they just were so like, I don't know what to do. All I could think is that people in the audience were just so like, I don't know what to do right now. We're in this weird situation. And they're still processing it. Hell, it only had happened 15 minutes earlier. Like, it's a lot to get around in a situation that is traditionally a fairly formal affair. Like, it's everybody's going, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I haven't seen you since we filmed that movie like 18 months ago. It's good to see, it's like everybody's kind of there supporting each other. And then to have that happen, like they're trying to process it. So I could think of that. Everybody just didn't know what to do, and they just defaulted to what you traditionally would do in that kind of at the award show. And yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, and not surprising. There's a division amongst people who support Chris or people that support Will. And I mean, I'm not saying that like I support Chris. I mostly I don't think that kind of level of reaction to that situation was necessary. Is really my stance on it.
Bobby, I mean, I know you didn't watch the show, but I mean, obviously you've been paying attention to everything that's been going on.
Exploded.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't have many more words to say other than what you guys have already said. So I don't want to repeat everything you guys have said. So the only thing I can really say about it is speaking from it as a Black man. And I think that from that perspective, it just was really sad after it sunk in of what I just witnessed. And to see two very prominent Black Hollywood figures have an incident like that on the world stage in front of 18 million viewers. It's just like, I always feel like it's a step back when something like that happens, and that people are going to look at that and be like, see, I told you that's how they are. It's like, it just gives them more reasons. And it's like, it's disappointing for that to have happened, to where there couldn't have been a conversation later, especially when it seems like, as you mentioned, Michelle, a lot of it might have been predicated on Will's reaction to Jada's reaction, as opposed to Will's genuine reaction, because when they first showed him, he was laughing at the joke. And it wasn't until maybe a moment or two later and seeing Jada's reaction that he then responded. And so it's just a matter of that apology that you read, David. I think that was necessary. That had to be done, regardless of how sincere it is or not. It had to have been done, because if he hopes to have any career going forward, he needed to apologize to Chris Rock and to others that he interrupted this ceremony and put a sour note, not only on his win, but other people's win as well. So I think that is going to be the first step. And then there has to be follow-up. It can't just be that. It has to be more. And for a certain amount of the people that were Will Smith's fans, he'll never get them back. But then there are some that are willing to forgive, and it has to start with him being able to say, I'm sorry, which he's done. And so I think that for the Oscars as a whole, it's just one of those things that now will be talked about every year. And I even can see this being one of those things where, when we're all old and ready to move on, and if Will Smith goes before us, I guarantee in a news clip, this will be part of it, his legacy. And that's, who wants that? But there it is. He has it now, and he has to wear that. So it's just all around a disappointing into something that could have been very special, with him joining such an elite group of other African-American men in that category, and to have had that where it didn't have to happen that way. It's just so frustrating and disappointing and sad and so many other things. And I'm sure that there will probably be some level of repercussions. I don't know if it'll be something to where, he doesn't get invited back for a couple years or so. We'll see. But I do know that from a legal standpoint, if the DA wanted to, they could press charges. More than likely, they probably won't, but they could.
Yeah, the LAPD asked Chris Rock if he wanted to press charges, and he is not pressing charges.
Yeah, but the DA can still create their own case against.
They totally can. And the Academy has started I guess they're calling it an investigation, but basically they're looking into the whole situation, and I guess they're basically trying to decide, should Will be on like a bit of a ban? Should Will ever be invited back? Should he not? Like, and then also I guess they're trying to figure out like a protocol for basically this kind of situation, like I'm saying, like where they could have been like, hey, you got to leave now. We need to talk to you backstage, and we're going to send a producer out, and we're going to talk about the situation and apologize to the people that are physically there, to the people that are watching, and try to move on with and address the situation. Like basically, sounds like now the Academy is trying to figure out how they would handle a situation like this, but then also how they're going to handle this situation. So they've launched, I forgot what they called it. I think I'm using investigation. I think that's not the word they're calling it.
I thought it was the word. I
think they did use the word investigation.
I think they did say investigation.
So I guess they're doing that now. So. Yeah, it's a bummer for everyone else that came after that point. And yeah, like it's funny because there's every couple of Oscars, there's always like the funniest moment in Oscar history, and like now we have La La Land Moonlight is one. And there's always that guy who streaked behind David Niven in that one Academy Awards, and there's a couple others. Right. This one's now always going to be on that list, and it's always going to be the first one because it's like, just what do you think? How can we top this in weird Oscar moments? It is going to be on the number one slot for a very long time, I think.
Yep.
So yeah,
David, I noticed we had a comment. I didn't know if you want to.
We do. Carlton Card chiming in a practical sense. The Oscars are hosted by comedians. How can they convince any other comedian to want to host unless something strong happens?
Yes.
Not just a strongly written message has to be banded. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, again, the reaction in the moment. I mean, I said it to you, Michelle, as we were watching, and one or two presentations later, awards later, and I'm like, how is he still sitting there?
Yeah.
Like, how is this happening?
How is he still hanging out in the audience?
How is he just hanging out, like
laughing,
cheering on Questlove, and like everyone just getting along? And I was just flabbergasted by what I was witnessing. Like, again, it's not a situation I would wish a producer to be in, any producer, but you
still have to
you got to make the call. Yeah. Somebody had, not just the producers, but security, anybody, like
anyone literally could have stepped in. Anyone.
I think I was most surprised when I woke up this morning and saw a couple articles saying that Will had attended the Vanity Fair party and that he was dancing to getting jiggy with it with his Oscar in hand, just having a good old time. I'm like, wow, after all that happened, you went out and partied, and
like you didn't just go home. Like,
I said last night as I was falling asleep, I went, do you think he's at after parties? Or do you think they just went home and went, we're just going to chill for the night?
That's what I thought they were going to do.
And I'll be honest, I'd have been so effing embarrassed for myself, my spouse, my father, I'd have been like, we're going home. There's no parties. No. There's no interviews. There's no party. We're going home. And you're going to sit and wallow and figure out your... No way would I. But like, I feel bad because, and David said this last night. Sorry, I keep stealing all the things you said.
Cool. Sam for me. It's fine.
David said it last night. Looks like you forget you say things. And David was like, it's the Oscars. And like Carlton just said, it's hosted usually by comedians. And there's little jabs at everybody. I'm not saying it's like a full-on roast, but there's always little quips. Everybody gets a little yeah. And everybody goes, oh yeah, it's good. I hate you. And it's just, that's what happens. That's what they do. It's how it's been. And how can you as a comedian, like, your safety now, like, how moving forward is a comedian go in the Oscars and go, I'm going to tell a joke and hope to God nobody's going to accost me on this stage?
And I mean, at the Oscars, especially the Golden Globes, we have heard way worse.
Oh, we've heard some like freaking jokes.
To me, this joke, dude, even to get, and this could go down a whole nother rabbit hole, but the joke, is it? Yeah. I mean, given her medical situation, was it in poor taste? Yes,
totally.
But it's, to me, not even that like mean of a jab at her. Like, she's a beautiful woman, as you said, Michelle, like beautiful as someone who has shaved her head. She looks fantastic. He just made a comment about like, because her hairstyle now is similar to G.I. Jane. It was a stupid joke, but it didn't even feel that to me, and I'm saying this as someone who's not in her situation, I fully recognize that. But that it would even be that offensive. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, like we've heard way worse, and for the Academy and no one there to take have more of a reaction to it does say, like, how are you going to feel as a comedian telling any types of jokes, jabs at anybody in the future? I mean, I don't know how people will handle it, but
I know. I mean, we've heard Ricky Gervais on the Oscar stage give way harder jokes. I'll say though, to her credit, Amy Schumer came out a little while later and she had a really good kind of icebreaker joke about the situation because, you know, a few scenes before the situation happened, they were all in like weird little costumes from movies and she was in a Spider-Man costume. So she kind of joked like, hey, I've been getting out of that Spider-Man costume. Did I miss anything? The tone of the room seems different. And it, I think, kind of helped a little bit. Like you could tell everybody kind of chuckled and giggled. Like it was a good little like, okay, the room needs to breathe. Things have happened. We need to keep going. We need to keep moving forward. So it's like,
the fact is there's other nominees, other people that deserve to get their recognition. Like, because other than that, it almost feels like we should just stop.
I know. Oh God, poor Questlove. He gets his moment
to have that moment, and I think it went as well for him as it possibly could have.
Yeah,
I think helped by the fact that Chris Rock didn't react more than he did.
It did help.
Know, again, not that I would have blamed Chris Rock for doing so. If he had walked right off the stage, like, absolutely, I would see wanting to do that, but. The fact
I'm surprised he held back. Like, most people would just automatically react and not even think. And he had the wherewithal to kind of hold back and think of like where I'm at right now, what I can't do right now, even though I might want to do right now. So
he kept his composure for being smacked in the face and then yelled at like a child. Like, he held it together pretty well. Yeah. I don't think I would have held it together that well. I would have either reacted or just been like, bye, I'm good. Yeah, I'm not getting paid for this. And even if I was getting paid for this, I don't deserve to get, nobody ever deserves to get slapped in the face for telling a bad joke. Like, ever. Like, I'm sorry. No.
Our other host has left a couple comments as well.
I'm not able to join us, but able to watch. Not just that, but it's a shame that this moment overshadows his biggest accomplishment, which I mean,
exactly.
I feel bad for all the other recipients, and as frustrated as I am with Will Smith, and I also feel bad for him that this whole terrible situation has happened around the fact, like you already said, Bobby, like he's joining this prestigious club of actors by winning this award. And it's just completely ruined, you know? I mean, he may argue that it's not so ruined for him. I don't know how he's feeling about it, but
he's hanging out parties.
Yeah, he went and partied afterwards. But the whole thing is just terrible.
Well, as someone who's watched, go ahead. No, go ahead. I was
just sad. Looks like he had a second comment. I don't know if that was related.
He posted that they chose chaos.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm not sure what
he says. Yasha says he even posted that they chose chaos, meaning that they specifically decided to be violent as opposed to talking it out. Or
I saw that post. It was like a short reel that he and Jada did, and I'm trying to remember if he was holding the Oscar or if it was before the show started. And it's a soundbite that's really popular right now on like TikTok and Instagram. And it's basically like, today I woke up and I chose violence. And they're like dancing. And I think they did it before the Oscars. I think I saw it and I quickly was like, cringed. I was like, I can't even watch it. I'm trying to remember now if he was holding the Oscar or if it was before the it's icky. It's icky. But anyways, I think we got that out of our system.
I think we've covered it. But we haven't really talked about the show as a show.
But the rest of the show, which I saw from start to finish. So, there's that.
Well, I'll say really quick, since I walked in and I mentioned like I didn't plan on finishing this. I mean, it was it's a work night. I need to get to bed. And then this whole thing happens. I didn't intend on continuing to watch much longer because I watched some and I quickly realized I was super happy I did not stay home for this. I mean, and then back up to anyone that doesn't know, I mentioned on the last show, I had the option of either staying home for this, which I enjoy watching the Oscars every year for the most part. Or, I had tickets to a soccer game. The United States men's national team had a game here in Orlando last night. And I chose to go to that. And that decision was helped by some of the decisions the Academy has made leading up to the show, with the decision to have certain categories not presented live during the normal broadcasts and such. And I was quickly realizing, I think I'm making the best decision for me. And then, when I came home and I watched for a little while, I was like, man, this is really bad. I'm not a fan of this. I wasn't a fan of many aspects. But then again, once the Will Smith thing happened, knowing that he was a very good chance he was going to win the actor award, I was like, well, I've got to stay up and see what he says in response to this. And then I just stayed up and watched the whole thing. But Michelle, you watched the entire show.
I did.
What's your take on last night's Oscars?
I'll cut to the chase. My overall take was it was a show from start to finish. I don't like there being three hosts. I stand by it. I think there should just be one host. I don't like what they did to the Dolby, to the room itself. Actually, they lowered the stage. So now there's just like one step, and then they brought this extension out into the audience, which just felt weird. And it felt like they were just up in the audience the whole time. And then the first couple rows, instead of, the Oscars are always the first, first 1 to 4, maybe 5 is just filled with all the major category nominees. And usually it's just the actors and actresses because they look pretty and they're going to get shot on the camera the most.
Celebrities.
Right. So they're celebrities. So, which I get. But what they did is instead of doing rows, and they then create these little cocktail lounge tables and little booths, and they did those as the first couple of rows to try to, I guess, make it feel more cozy and more personable. But honestly, it was just stupid. It just looked dumb, and it just felt like we were sitting in people's laps a lot of the time, which brings me to the whole by the way, I'm roasting this. I am so pissed at this whole show. So the camera work is just up in people's face. I mean, it just felt like everything was just zoomed in at maximum the whole show. And I'm not here for it. I don't like the presenters basically presenting and basically being in the audience as they're talking to the camera. And then it feels weird. It just doesn't look natural. It definitely has the feel of it's not natural. The people that were sitting in those little cocktail table club seating, I guess you can call it, you could tell they were almost like, wow, it's right there, in my face with the thing, it felt weird, and I absolutely hate that decision 1,000,000%. I can't begin to describe.
I mean, since you're on that subject, just to comment on it too, for me, watching the Oscars as many years as I have, as you have as well, Michelle, and I'm sure you have, Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
You, like you said, Michelle, you always have your celebrities. The bigger nominees, if you want to call them the bigger nominees, mainly because they're celebrities, up toward the front. But at the same time, it's always felt like all of these different aspects of movie making are all in the same room together for an award show, and they all play their separate parts in making films, right? But the choice, like you're describing, Michelle, to have this kind of more exclusive lounge area right in front of the stage, it just felt like more of a way to like separate the celebrities that everyone knows, the important like elite people in Hollywood from everyone else, the sound designers and the visual effects artists and the hair and makeup and the, you know, some of the musicians, the, you know, basically composers and such. Like, and I think that's unfortunate. Like, to me, that's not what the Oscars have been about. It was an aspect of it that I didn't like, even aside from the fact that like some of the camera work, like you're describing, Michelle, like I didn't care for. Like the camera was just like up in everyone's face, and it felt like it closed everything off. Like the Oscars is always in a big room, and it feels like it's big. This is a big ceremony, and I'm not saying every shot needs to be a big wide shot of everything, but the decision to have these shots, these really tight shots of all the presenters and all of our winners and such, just felt like it closed things off, and it didn't, whatever effect they were going for with that, I think as maybe as a way to like make you feel like you're more in it. Like even as somebody at home, like, man, I'm right there.
I'm right there in the game, man.
That's not how it felt to me. So sorry to jump in, but
no. I mean, I can roll for a while right now on the things I do not like about the Oscars this year. Obviously, and yeah, like no big surprise. I really dislike that 10 categories were done and presented earlier, shot, edited, and then like injected into the what we watched live. It felt weird and jarring a lot of the times, and it's just I feel like it stole people's moments, and I feel like acceptance speeches have gotten shorter and shorter because everybody's like, oh, the Oscars, they go on for like 5 hours. So what?
The show was still late. Like
the show was still
after all that, and I get that we had the Will Smith thing happen, but the show still didn't go to bed till midnight.
No, it still ran to almost midnight as per usual.
Right.
There
like,
was
it felt
literally
like nothing helped. It helped nothing with time.
I mean, for years they've been making the acceptance speeches shorter and shorter, especially for as long as you're not an actor or actress, they've gotten shorter and shorter. But like these people had moments just taken away from them where they really kind of could shine, you know? I mean, like even for short film, you know, Riz Ahmed had a film and he won, and Riz he's had some really great performances that he's been nominated for the past couple of Oscars, hasn't gotten it, and he gets his moment, and it's because he produced this movie and he starred in it, and it is like I've been dying to see this short film, and it was finally his moment to finally say something, and he gave a acceptance speech, but you can tell even he was kind of like, what's the point? Nobody's listening, nobody's watching. And you could tell like it was heartbreaking to see him have this like moment basically stripped from him. And I'm just giving that as an example. Obviously there's 9 other categories the exact same thing happened to, and it's unfortunate. Like these people work their lives and they might maybe make one film that might get nominated for an award, let alone win. Give them their moment, give them their time, you know? It's hard. Like it's not an easy business to be in, and I can't with it. It's just frustrating. No. I'm gonna stop for now, let somebody else take the torch because I have so many more things to say.
Go on too long.
I could just keep rolling. I really could, unfortunately. Maybe here. Well, why don't I talk positives real quick? A couple positives.
Okay.
Few positives. I don't like the 3 hosts, but I will say, I think, and I'm pretty sure Amy wrote a lot of it, but I feel like Amy's jokes hit really well. I think, unfortunately, Wanda's jokes, she had 1 or 2 that were pretty okay, but most of them were kind of misses for me. And then Regina, whom I really enjoy, I think all of hers were not good. And I really don't know who wrote for her, and it just wasn't good. And there was even one joke that I think the whole scenario was just kind of cringe.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
That was so cringy. The whole like, I'm gonna COVID test these sexy men,
all the hot men in the room,
all the hot men in the room, and sexualize them, and then literally feel up 2 of them,
Momoa and
and Josh Brolin. Awkward. And I'm saying this as a woman who has spent years and has been going on forever seeing men basically do the same joke in reverse. And it's still, those were cringy times too. But this is also cringy. Like, it's just not good. Like, the sexualization of a gender, or it's just, it's not, I'm not down for it. I'm not here for it. I'm sorry. It's just not cool for me. And I'm trying to talk positives here. So
I was like, yeah, no, we're doing positives here.
Positives. I think a lot of Amy Schumer's jokes actually landed pretty well overall. She has a few that were not, but they were. There was a couple of jokes when they're in the woman's opening monologue that I think were really good. The toxic masculinity one was pretty good. I think the one about the Florida, she was like, they were like, hey, everybody in Florida, this is gonna be a gay show, gay. And I was like, yes, like I was here for it. I was like, yeah, in our face, Florida legislative. Yeah, so there were some good ones. And even as a woman, like there was one really, one of the first jokes I think actually was like, hey, why get one male host when you can get 3 female hosts for less than the price of one male host? But and it's sad that that's funny, but it is. So that would be a positive for me. Actually, I think the 60th anniversary of James Bond montage, I think, was actually done really well, and I enjoyed that. Other things I really enjoyed was the win for Best Supporting Actress. And now I can't remember her name, and I really want to kill myself now. Anita, no.
Yeah, I don't remember how to say her name.
I can't say her name. It's like I blinked.
West Side Story.
West Side Story. Oh. She played Anita.
Du Bois?
Yes, Du Bois. And she was, the bullet in Hamilton. So she won, and she had such a spectacular acceptance speech, and it was just so good and from the heart, and like, I just was standing just like, yes, girl, yes, my Hamilton peeps. Like, I'm just so excited for her. And I was so happy because she earned it. She was by far the standout of that film. And I said that in our review, and I stand by it. She was absolutely excellent in that movie. And then, Troy Kotsur, also Best Supporting Actor in a role in Coda for playing the father. And his acceptance speech was also just, it was so good and from the heart, and it was like he even choked up his own interpreter in the acceptance speech. The poor guy is trying to verbally communicate what Troy is signing, and he's getting choked up. I was like, this is killing. Like, I was in tears last night. I was like, this is killing me. It was so good. And so there's definitely some good that came out of it. Obviously, Questlove's win I think was spectacular, and his acceptance speech, and he got super emotional, and I was like, yes, I'm here for it. Like, those are the good. So I'll talk to that as those are the good things.
I don't have a lot to add other than it just wasn't for me. You already talked about the stage. You didn't mention, by the way, the in memoriam was.
I was gonna give somebody else the haterade.
Yeah,
somebody else could take the lead on that.
That was pretty bad.
That was horrible.
I'm all for the idea. Normally when we see in memoriam segments at the Oscars, it's very somber music, fitting what were, all these, great actors and people who have worked in Hollywood. And here it felt like they were going for more of this like celebration feel with the music.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like, that's great. But it also, something about it just didn't work. And this also happened post the slap. So, I think it was also just tainted by the situation. But even on its own, it didn't work either.
It didn't work, and it's no hate towards the choir itself. The choir itself performed extremely well. They sang beautifully.
Choir, nothing against them. Yeah.
They were great, and I'm mixed on the whole. Let's do a celebration of life thing. I'm kind of here for it. I think my issue was the shot that they actually, again, it's more of the shots, the actual camera work itself. So much of it was focused on the actual choir members because they were doing a little bit of dancing.
Yeah, it's almost like the screen behind them of everyone that, we are remembering from this past year was like a side note almost.
Totally. And that's what really got me.
And then they had these moments like Bill Murray comes out to talk about Ivan Reitman. And then there was a couple others, right? Where
Betty White came,
forget who came out for Betty White.
It was Halloween.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Came out for her.
There were a couple moments like that kind of stuck in there where we had someone actually like on the side like saying something about one of the people. I don't know. It just didn't work.
I'm actually okay with that because I feel like they kind of did that last year and the year before, the 2019s. I think they kind of did a little bit.
Oh, I don't remember that if they did that. But
I think it was just the fact that I felt like I was trying to look past the choir to see the screen for who we're supposed to be remembering of passing away. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to struggle to go, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that person, I forgot about. Oh yeah, I love their work. That was such a great thing. Like I didn't get to have that this year. It felt like it was, you're supposed to, go, oh, that's right. Yes, that person, they contributed a lot to this field, or, oh yes, that's so sad. Like you're supposed to have that moment. I felt like it was kind of taken away. Yeah. A lot with the camera work. I was not a fan with the way they did the in memoriam. It was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
And we haven't even talked about the whole online polling.
Oh yeah. So you may have heard that the Academy did some like letting fans basically vote for like these categories. I don't know if it was just via Twitter or however they did it. And yeah, there was no doubt that there was we know how loud and vocal the Zack Snyder contingent online can be. And that definitely was shown with a couple of the winners of a couple of the categories. Like one of them, was it like movie of the year or something, or like Army of the Dead one, like
for that top 5.
Yeah, there was an Army of the Dead one of the top 5s, and then there was like best like stand up and cheer moments or something, and it was a moment from Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League with the Flash.
Yeah, running into the time.
Yeah,
Bobby knows
like
the speed
force.
It wasn't even it was like a moment. I'm like, okay.
Like, but it's not even like, oh, like top 5 cheer-worthy moments of
the past year. It was like all time, wasn't it?
It was like of all time.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you know how many movies that encompasses and how many years that encompasses? Like, Jesus.
It's like you said, it's Zack Snyder's fans, and they're just organized and they're all online. That
I mean, you can't
portion of
them
people,
in a way.
So,
like,
I mean, of course they're going to do that. It's like most people most people aren't online and voting for that thing. I didn't. I'm sure you guys didn't. No. But the people who support the Zack Snyder stuff, they are online and they do vote for that stuff. So
when you're going to open it up to that community, nothing against that community, but when you're going to do that, that's what you're going to get.
When you just open up to the general whomever, I mean, like we got a lot of comic book stuff, and I love comic book films, but when I compare moments in comic book films sometimes to any other film, especially Oscar-worthy films, they come up a little short in my book, and I'm not trying to poop on them. It's just that like there's so many other emotional driven moments in all the history of film that you could draw upon, and you guys chose films that have all come out in the last 3 years, other than the Matrix.
It was one of the worst things I think that they did as an effort to bring in more of like a younger audience. Like, let's throw out stuff where they can vote online and then watch and see who won. Like,
Right.
I get the general idea behind that when you say it out loud, but if you really think about that, like that's not going to work. And this is what happened. Like we saw how it didn't work. So I really hope if there's anything they don't do, that it's that again. I mean, there's a lot I hope they don't do again.
I agree.
But yeah, that was a bad example of a change that they made for this year's show.
I think it's not the worst thing, but I definitely bumped on it. Is that so? I guess they basically broke the show up into 3 parts, and for the first part, musically was done by a DJ, and then the second part was done by just a random cluster of really talented musical musicians, kind of like in a jam band kind of session. Like, what's his name? Travis Barker was on drums, and then this really beautiful percussionist was on a different type of drum, and then they had a saxophonist. So, like, it was just kind of a random like jam band thrown together for that section of the Oscars. And then the last section of the Oscars was actually done by the Los Angeles African American Philharmonic, which was awesome. But it was just like, I think they were trying to be representative of different like ways to do the music for the show, but it just didn't work. I'm like, just pick one. Just have a DJ do it, or just have the cool like mesh of musician jam band do it, or just have the orchestra do it. But like changing it up was weird to me. Right. Like I'm open to getting outside of just having an orchestra be at the Oscars. I can live with that. I'm used to an orchestra doing it because an orchestra can usually recreate the film themes from that year as well as films in the past. Right. But times are changing. Cool. But just pick one. Like jumping between 3 different versions of music is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw something online, a tweet this morning that I didn't get to see everything, obviously, from the show as we talked about, but they suggested Lady Gaga should host the awards. And I was like, I could see that because 1, she is an actress. 2, she's a performer. And 3, she does seem to have a lot of reverence for the Oscars and the ceremony and the whole pageantry of it. And I was like, yeah, I can see that.
I can see it. She has a stage presence. I mean, like, so last night for Best Picture, she came out with Liza Minnelli. And she helped Liza basically through the process of the nominees and then actually getting to the winner. And it was done with such grace and compassion. And it was done really well. And I have to give it to Gaga. Like that was another really good moment, I think, from last night. If I could try to find the good moments, that was a good moment to me. And she has a lot of love for Liza, and she understands, Tony Bennett. What Liza. Yeah, exactly. But she reveres her, and she understands like what Liza went through as a woman during that time, and like it was a solid moment for sure. I just yeah, there's so much to unpack, but like Dune pulled away with the most wins, which doesn't shock me, but almost all of them were all technical, which also does not shock me, and I'm not mad at. I'm happy Dune won as much as it did, and what they did win, I was super happy, especially like cinematography. Thank you God. Like I'm happy those happened. But like this night it was so overshadowed that do you guys understand? Like the most female wins in an Oscar happened last night.
Yeah, I didn't
and
know
it's complete. Yeah. Directors, writers, like it's insane that so much got overshadowed by this. It should have been a beautiful moment. Like it should have been beautiful for Questlove and for Troy Kotzer and for just everyone. Like, all these women that have worked so hard in an industry, people of different religions and ethnicities and backgrounds, and there actually was finally a little bit more diversity, and it just got creamed last night because of one ridiculously stupid event. And it's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing for the Academy.
I fully expect next year all those technical awards to go to Avatar 2. James Cameron picking up on that one. Yeah. I do. I really feel
I
like
would
that
not
might...
be at all surprised by that. I mean,
I would not
we're
be
joking
surprised by
about
that.
it,
I would not.
but James Cameron should never be underestimated.
Oh
especially
God,
in that
no.
regard.
Lord, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy that like best costume actually went to the costume designer for the movie Cruella, because those were some spectacular costumes. Like Dune, yes, they are creative, but there's not a lot. There's only like, you know, maybe 7 different costumes really happening in Dune. With Cruella, it was about fashion. Like it was really an entertaining film just from a fashion standpoint. And so yeah, like I'm happy that woman won. Like that was spectacular costume design for certain. Like hands down, it was really good.
Well, yeah, that
I
was
could go on.
That was the Oscars for this year. Yeah, I probably, watch it next year, sure, but like I watched it when I got home, and I had to at least see how it was going once I got home from the game. And like I said before the Will Smith thing, I was like, okay, yeah, this is not good. Not a fan. I think I'm gonna go to bed now. And then that all happened, and the rest is history. But yeah, I get things evolve and things change. And was the Oscars ceremony going to stay the way it was that I know throughout most of my years so far? Like, no, of course not. But if this is the way it's going to change in the future, if we're going to see more shows, basically what we just saw, I had a good run with the Oscars.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone younger than me enjoys this kind of thing, and you guys have a good time.
Yeah.
So, with that, I mean, we're basically out of time. I wanted to touch on a couple things real quick, and I want to go to you guys too, if you have anything you want to bring up really fast. I mean, I just wanted to say, I got a chance to finally see the Batman again this past week.
Did you see it in Dolby?
I saw it in Dolby. That was basically my inspiration. I was like, oh man, so I'd started watching an interview on YouTube, which actually I still need to finish. That was done, an interview that was done by Dolby. I forget who the actual interviewer is, with Matt Reeves and Michael Giacchino and the sound department. And it's like an hour and a half interview on YouTube. It's very good. And I was watching it like a couple weeks ago going, damn it, I really need to see this movie in Dolby before it leaves Dolby. And I immediately start looking. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could see it here. And I think at least locally, I saw like the last night it was in our Dolby theater near us. The next day, I think it went to the Lost City. God help us all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I watched it in Dolby. I mean, I'm not going to go in a full review again. I mean, we already did that. And I had said before, I've loved the movie. I think it's great. I enjoyed it even more the second time. Being able to go into it now without that, like the kind of the vision of expectations, those goggles on, without that, having seen it already and being able to watch it again. And I'm glad I kind of took a couple weeks or more to watch it that second time.
You digested.
Yeah, to digest it for a while, finally going to see it again. It really works for me, like on all levels. It's such a damn good movie. Like,
it is a good film.
Even like the ending, which if there was a part of the movie that I was like, I would just call it maybe my least favorite, even though I thought it was so good. Maybe the ending of the film, the ending worked for me more upon the second viewing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was great. I will say the presentation, though, in Dolby, it was great. But there were times I was watching it and looking at certain shots going, that looked better on an IMAX screen. But
that's fair. That would be the thing.
Yeah. Right.
If we could just get Dolby and IMAX to just sync up a little bit, I feel like the world would be a better place for it.
I mean, the IMAX laser is still pretty good. It's still not Dolby because of the sound, but the presentation wise, quality is really good with the laser. But yeah, just that sound with the Dolby. Like again, I always point back to it is just that the car scene. Being in the Dolby is so nice for that.
So good.
But yeah, watching the movie a second time too, it made me think of it more like it felt more like the movie is, because the movie's long, and you know, maybe that was one of my hiccups I mentioned after my first viewing.
Yeah,
but it's almost like it's a really great 3-4 part like HBO show, like all put in one sitting. Like if you're gonna binge like a 3 or 4 episode show on HBO or even Netflix or what have you, called The Batman, that's what The Batman feels like. And I don't think that's a fault. Like it works. But as I was watching it, there's even moments where I was like, yeah, I would cut it right here, and from here this would make a great next episode. And it works like that. It
does kind of have a good like sectional
it has these kind of sections to it. I mean, all movies do, I guess, acts, but
yeah.
Anyway, and I also wanted to mention I never actually rewatched Spider-Man Far From Home until this past week.
Oh, that's right. That did happen.
And that I also enjoyed more the second time. I mean, that movie was great the first viewing, but upon a second viewing with my kids, yeah, that's a damn good film.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say I'd liked it more, but
I did.
Damn, it was good.
Some of maybe there's like nitpicky things I kind of bumped on in the first viewing that upon a second viewing, I'm like, who cares? Like, this is really great storytelling. Like, even if it's not perfect, even if there are still moments like the ending where I am going, why can't you just stand there and wait until she forgets and just stay there? Like stuff like that. Even if I still think about that, it's still really good storytelling. It's a really good movie.
Right. So. No, it totally is. It really, yeah.
Bobby, did you have anything you wanted to throw on real quick before we go?
Sure, really quickly. Got a chance to watch the first episode of Halo on Paramount Plus.
And,
you know, I've had pretty good experiences with the games. I haven't played all the games all the way through. I think I played at least the first 2 all the way through. And I'm old school, so I played them when they first came out, when they were first available. So I know a decent amount about Halo in general, but I honestly can't tell you any of the story of Halo, really. So I think I come from it as a person who's knowledgeable of the games, but not knowledgeable of the storyline that's going on in the games. And so when I got a chance to see this first episode, I really enjoyed it. And from not just a visual standpoint, because I thought the special effects looked really good. I could see where there might be a couple shots here and there that weren't, but that's anything. You can always point to something that has some bad special effects at certain points in it. But I think that what I really liked about it was this element of what they're doing with the Spartans, and these are the group of basically the specialized Halo group of elite forces. They're not just the regular Marine soldiers. These are enhanced humans. And so I really like the story elements that they have going on with them, and what this system is doing against other humans. And then you introduce these aliens into the mix, and then it becomes this whole other thing. And, you know, I guess for me, even though I know the history of the games and know that in the games he never takes his helmet off, I didn't bump on it, honestly, when I watched the show. Only because I guess the whole reason why you were supposed to never see him in the game is because you're supposed to be that character. And so you're seeing it from that perspective as like you're that character. So they don't give him a face in it. And I'm not playing the show. I'm watching it. So I don't mind that there's an actual person in the face. The games are the games. The show is the show to me. And I can separate the two. So I really liked it on that level, and looking forward to see more of it. And I think it's out every Thursday, every week Thursdays on Paramount Plus.
I think the same day Picard drops is they're dropping Halo as
Yeah.
well.
Yes, yeah. And we got Moon Knight this Wednesday too. So
yep,
lots of stuff.
Oh,
Lots.
so
Did you have a chance to watch or no?
No, I really wanted to, and that was the plan. Caught up on Picard.
Yeah, I was gonna say we caught up on Picard, and
we were an episode behind on that, but caught up now.
Yeah, I will say actually these last 2 episodes of Picard I liked better, especially the last episode. I liked better than episode I think 2 of Picard.
I will say I could have done widhout the major fan service moment.
That was super fan servicey.
It didn't do it for me.
It was not. I wouldn't say it worked, but I wouldn't say it didn't work for me. I think it was mostly just like, okay, yeah, okay. They're on a bus. It's funny. Like it's weird.
I haven't even seen the episode, but I know what you're talking about.
All you heard was bus.
Yeah.
They're on a city bus in LA.
Bus. All I'll say is that they got the guy, so I mean that's kind of
that's
cool,
interesting.
But
yeah,
guess he wasn't busy.
I guess not.
I mean, I didn't hate it and I didn't love it. I was kind of like, okay, like
I don't know. As soon as we went to it and you heard the music, I think I said out loud, I'm like, oh, here we go.
I think you verbally eye rolled.
Like, oh,
you verbally eye rolled in the room.
And I love Star Trek, but there's just stuff like that. It's a little too much. That was too much. Anyway, it's all in good fun, but it was too much.
It is all in good fun, but I will say I think I enjoyed those episodes actually better. I think the second episode was probably my least favorite so far. I was not.
I don't think I think I agree with you.
Feeling that episode.
Yeah.
And funny because you told me, well, so they were directed by Leah Thompson, the actress, who I guess is dabbling in directing, and
I guess she's a big Trek fan,
and she's a big Trekkie. Who knew? And
I did not.
I'm not mad at that. That's pretty awesome, actually. I was like, that's cool.
Like watching episode 3, and I saw her name pop up as director, and
I know
like, that's just got to be somebody else.
I was like, name. Is that the Leah Thompson I'm thinking about in my head? And it was. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
She knows a thing or two about back in time, so
she knows a little bit about time travel. She's got a little knowledge about time travel. Yeah. So no, that was entertaining. Sorry, I feel like I'm silly. Bobby, did you have other stuff you were gonna watch? I had one more thing I was gonna mention, but
no, I'm good for this one.
The only other thing I was gonna mention was that I'm all caught up on The Marvelous Miss Maisel,
which finished its season, right?
Which finished its season, and I think I mentioned it in another show we did that I feel overall this season is my least favorite. I feel like it's a frustrating season as a viewer because you're watching her just she's holding her own self back, and you're watching these decisions get made, and you're just like, as a person who's rooting for this main character, you're just going, I just want to bash your head against a wall, woman. What are you doing? And finally, in the last episode, it does come together, but it's frustrating as a viewer to be like, it took to the last episode for the whole season to come together as a decent thing. That's frustrating. Like the last episode shouldn't be the weight of an entire season. I mean, It should help it, but it shouldn't all reside on it. And it did. And that frustrates me. But I will say, like, it ends and I'm like, thank you, Lord. There's really good scenes throughout the episode. And then, of course, the very last scene, which is, trait for our writers and directors who do the series, who also did Gilmore Girls. It's true to form, but like, it's very like, you leave on this note of like, okay, let's go. Let's do this thing. And finally somebody shoves it in her face. And it's just so good. And so like, thank you, Lord, for somebody pointing out, the situation to her and being like, you need to pull it together, woman. And so it was just very vindicating as a viewer to finally get that moment. And it's just like, God, it just took so long to get to that moment in the season. So I think, I don't know. I know next season's the last season for Marvelous Miss Maisel. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to wrap up really well. But yeah, I think this season was probably my least favorite of the seasons. And it's not like I don't want to be like, oh, it was bad writing. Like, I mean, some of the writing, some of the jokes were really great, but I think it was a very frustrating season as a viewer. So.
All right.
I still like the show, though. Everybody should totally watch the show. It's got
You're not hating on it.
But... I'm not hating on it at all. Like, as a viewer, it was just frustrating.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, with that, so as we said, this is episode 399. Our next episode is a big one. It's 400.
It's the 400th episode.
We are probably not. I would say we are not going to do a show next weekend. So the following show, the following Monday, whatever date that falls on,
the 11th.
The 11th. It looks like, as long as we can see it here, at least in Orlando, and it sounds like we should be able to, we'll probably be reviewing Everything Everywhere All at Once for our 400th episode. So I'm looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun.
That movie looks so awesome. It's a good 400. Like, that's a good movie. Like, I think it's gonna be a good movie. I hope it's a good movie.
But then, we got some busy weeks ahead. Like,
it's starting. Sure. The summer's starting.
Yeah, I mean,
spring is here.
Secrets of Dumbledore is coming up soon. I'm waiting to buy tickets for that and for Doctor Strange. I mean, I figure we should be able to buy tickets for that coming up any moment.
Yeah.
God willing. Anytime now.
So yeah, I've got my notifications ready on my phone to buy tickets as soon as absolutely possible. With that, we're going to wrap things up. As always, we would love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. You can, first of all, email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. If you are watching us live or in the future on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, you can leave questions and comments there, of course. You can like and subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell icon to be notified whenever we go live or post videos in the future. We are also on Twitter and Instagram at Flicker_effect. You can reach out to us there. With that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening and watching.